Hi everybody, welcome back to today's video. Today we're talking about the case of Delmar Wilson. This is a case that I just randomly stumbled upon and I wanted to tell you guys about it. There's not a whole lot of photos or information in this case, sparser than usual, so I apologize, but I still wanted to tell you about this case. So all links that I did use for research will be down below. Like always, I highly encourage you to go do your own looking. And let's just go ahead and get into this. I don't want to make this a very long intro. So Delmar is described by his parents as being very well liked, having a lot of friends, and a quiet person who loved to hunt, he loved to fish, he loved to spend time in the woods, and just out on the lake. His classmates from high school describe him as someone who was quiet until you got to know him, then he would show you his funny side, his kind side, and his trusting side. Delmar graduated from Paoli High School in the spring of 1982. 3 to 4 months before his death, Delmar began working at Hillcrest Manufacturing in his hometown of Paoli, Indiana, as an inspector. At the time of his death, Delmar was looking forward to an upcoming promotion to upholsterer. And a quote from his father, Daryl, he says, "He was quite the fisherman and hunter. He wasn't as competitive as his brothers. They were all wrapped up in sports, and he was more content to watch." End quote. So he just seemed like a very gentle, very to himself. So getting into the case, Delmar dropped his girlfriend off at her home at 1 a.m. on June 12, 1994, which was approximately 2 miles away from where he would later be found. And this is the last known sighting of Delmar prior to his death. Later that morning at 7:50 a.m., his body was found by a passerby, and he was found in the driver's seat of his white 1987 Chrysler. The car was parked in the road, roughly 0.8 of a mile south of US 150 in Hardinsburg, Indiana. And a quote from the Indiana Police Sergeant Marvin Jenkins, he says, "This is an area that people do not use to get from one point to another point. The only reason you would be on that road would be if you lived there or were visiting somebody or something of that nature," end quote. So it's very a off the beaten path kind of area. Not many people were on it unless you had to be on it. Unfortunately, Delmar had been shot once in the head at close range. His foot was still on the brake, and the car's headlights were on. There was no evidence at the scene that he'd been robbed, and the weapon used was nowhere to be found. In August of 1994, a reenactment of Delmar's murder was aired on TV with Crime Stoppers, hoping to bring in new information. Then, in 1997, on the weekend of his class reunion, his classmates gathered and held a memorial service to appeal for more information from the public. And to finish this off, we actually have a quote from Stacy Durbin, who was a classmate of Delmar's, and she says, "We all still talk about it, so we know that may help. Someone may open their mouth and say something they shouldn't. It's just a matter of somebody just telling the wrong person, or it could be the right person," end quote. And yeah, honestly, it's just a matter of somebody finally just cracking and just being like, "Oh, I know something." And hopefully it's to the right person, someone who's willing to speak up and say, "Hey, I heard this. This might be worth looking into." And maybe Delmar's parents could finally get some peace and finally find out what happened to their son. Like, who did this? Because he seemed like such a gentle person. It doesn't make sense that someone would want to harm him. He was just going about his life. And it's just such a tragic way for him to go. Like, I can't even imagine. But anybody that has any information is urged to contact the Indiana State Police District Investigative Commander at 812-246-5424 or the Kentuckiana Crime Stoppers at 502-582-2583. So if you have any information that could help in some way, definitely reach out and tell them what you know. So I don't even know who could do something like this. From everything I heard, he had a lot of friends, a lot of people who loved him. He really kept to himself unless he knew you. And I can't imagine like why he was pulled over and somebody just walked up and shot him, it seems like. If that's the case, like it was just something random, it just kind of makes you wonder, like if he hadn't pulled over, if that's the case, would he still be alive? Was it something else? It makes you wonder. And I feel so bad for his girlfriend, just thinking that she'll see him again. He just dropped her off, and then just a little bit later, he's passed away. And of course, I feel horribly for his parents. Like, you can see it in the photos of them that I'll post, that you can just see the pain in their faces. Like, just after all these years, they just want an answer. They just want to know who did this. Like, they just want justice for their son. So hopefully, like Stacey Durbin said, someone will open their mouth and someone will spill their guts. She said that their classmates, something that they still talk about, like maybe speaking about it will maybe irritate the wrong person. It'll, provoke them to want to talk, and hopefully something will come out. But thank you guys so much for listening to Delmar's story. I'm going to stop rambling now. Like I said, my heart goes out to his family. Let me know your thoughts down below, like always, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.